Good morning, everyone. My name is Priscilla Tennant. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm an associate pastor here at Chestnut Hill United. And you should know that you are welcomed into this place. And I would imagine that the music has already been ministering to you and letting you know that you are welcome here. I join you from Philadelphia, which is unceded territory of the Lenape people. So we always take a moment to acknowledge that, think about the land that you are joining us from and the people who stewarded it before us. And a few reminders for you. If you are joining us online, closed captioning is an option. There's a CC button that you can push if it would be helpful for you to see the words that are being spoken. And we also have some online assistance. So if Kara Mesner or Becky Jomrose can be of assistance, feel free to send them a chat if you're having any difficulty accessing the service today. Again, we're so glad that you're here with us. We're going to move into our opening hymn, but as a reminder, we will ask for volunteers to read our opening sentences. And we usually do that by looking for someone online to read the leader part, and then somebody in the sanctuary will read the people part as part of our great hybrid worship experiment that has become who we are. So we're really excited about that. Our opening hymn is How Great Thou Art. If you're in the sanctuary, that can be found in your black binder, the special hymnal number 48. And the words are on the screen as well, and you are invited to stand in body or spirit. Amen. You may be seated. Our opening sentences this morning. We're looking for volunteers. Is there somebody online who would read the leader part? And then somebody in the sanctuary who wants to volunteer to read the people part.
I see Laura Critch has offered to read.
Great.
It's not Laura, it's me.
Hi, Eli.
Hi.
Thanks for volunteering to read the leader part. You're such a leader in our community. We're grateful for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Jay, who's going to do the people part. And thank you. where the opening sentences are from Sarah Blondin. It's adapted from A Letter from the Universe, which is in her book, In Heart Minded. And we invite you at home or in the sanctuary to join in for the people part.
You are built from this ancient wild earth. You are as mighty as any force that stands beside you.
You have encountered the stormy waters of your life and have been born into a new understanding.
Great beauty will reveal itself to you in the plain, simple, and ordinary life you get to live.
Any indifference to your life will die away.
You will stand bare and emptied.
All of life will dance before you in a wild symphony of delight. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Our act of praise is Spirit, Spirit of Gentleness. It's in the Black New Century hymnal number 286, and we will also bring the words up on the screen, and you can remain seated for this one. it's our time with children. This is a time when we invite any kids amongst us to check in and see how they're doing. In the sanctuary, we usually do that on the steps, but also paying attention to our friends who are online. So if there's any kids in the sanctuary who want to join me on the steps, feel free. And then I'm wondering if Eli might want to check in as well, since we've already heard from Eli. Hi, Eli. Your hair looks great.
Hey, thank you.
How are you today?
Good.
Good. I'm wondering how you're feeling about the end of summer and the approaching school year starting.
I don't know.
That's fair. That's a great answer.
I honestly don't know.
I think, one of the phrases that I learned through one of the school communities my kids were a part of is double dip feelings. And that's what this time of year feels like for me, because there's things to be excited about and things to be nervous about and things to be disappointed that are ending. And it's so many feelings at once. Are there some things that I mentioned that you're feeling?
Kind of frustrated right now because we are stuck home because Mom has COVID.
Oh, we're so sorry to hear that. That's tough.
Right after the beach, we came home from the beach. We were at the beach last week, so it was a pretty crazy week. And then we got back, and our aunts got COVID. So then Mom tested, and then Mom got COVID. And me and Maisie so far have tested negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so we're stuck home.
Yes, that quarantining is so hard. How's your mom feeling? How are her symptoms?
She's got, she says that feels like a really bad cold.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad you shared that with us because, first of all, we're going to be praying for all of you, each of you, that you can get through this quarantine, maybe even have some fun during this quarantine, and that your mom gets better really soon. And then I'll reach out to see if there's anything we can be doing for you other than prayer. Prayer is really important, but sometimes there's other tangible ways we can help. So certainly if you and Maisie want to check in with me at some point and just have a Zoom chat, I would love that. But thank you for sharing. And a lot of us are going through difficulty where either we are having symptoms and having to quarantine or people we love are. So our spirits and our love are with you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Eli.
Thanks.
Okay. And Lyndon, it's always great to see you. Hi, Lyndon. Hi.
Oh, yeah. Today's Lyndon's first birthday.
Yay! Happy birthday! Oh, that's so exciting. I hope that there's a picture with some yummy sweet cake all over your face. Happy birthday and congratulations to the parents for surviving.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday, Lyndon. It's time for some announcements. We'll bring them up on the screen, but want to share a few things that you should know. Special thanks to our worship team this morning. I can't believe this Sunday and next Sunday are the end of summer and the end of Kip's sabbatical. So Kip will be returning soon. We're so grateful for that and thankful for all of the ways that people have stepped up to lead. So special thanks to Terry and Rachel today for being on tech and camera. And Becky is kind of doing double duty as greeter and usher. And Jaime is our musician. We're so grateful to have you. And Care is my partner in, I don't know if I should say crime or ministry or both, but I'm very grateful for the partnership we've had this summer. It's been truly life-giving, so thank you. I want to thank our congregational speakers today. You're going to be hearing from them shortly, and they'll introduce themselves, but I'm so grateful, again, for another way that people are stepping up to lead. The trustees are meeting via Zoom on Wednesday, the 24th at 7, and the Spiritual Life Committee is meeting on Friday at 3 p.m. These are open meetings, so if you are interested in attending, even if you're not on those committees, please reach out and we will make sure you get those Zoom links. The COVID-19 policy for the fall, we're trying to figure this out and we want to hear from you. And that's true whether you've been here many times or if this is your very first Sunday. So we are considering going mask optional. Right now, what we do, in case you're not familiar, is that the only people who go without masks are pastors or congregational speakers who have tested at home the day before. Everybody else is wearing masks, and based on recent lightening of some restrictions, we're considering changing that, but we want to hear from you about whether that would make you more or less likely to worship in the sanctuary. So please send an email if you have an opinion about that. If you're planning your summer travels, we are preparing for Water Sunday. That is one of our high holy days here where we have an outdoor service. And we bring waters from either local or any travels in order to make up our baptismal font for the year. So it's a special Sunday. We hope you can join us, and we hope you'll bring water on September 11th. And then we also hope that you'll stick around for the post-service potluck cookout that we always have. So please know you're welcome, and there'll be an email going around with the Sign Up Genius so that you can say what you'll bring so that we don't all bring hot dogs. If you can assist with any light cleaning, there's a Sign Up Genius for that. We did pause our janitorial service over the summer, and we are so grateful for the people who've already volunteered and signed up for that, and we can always use more help. I'm having drop-in pastoral visits on Wednesdays from 12 to 2. There's 2 more Sundays for that, both this week and the week after. Inviting people for worship facilitation. If you want to do any of the jobs that I mentioned, we do have training, or if you're just curious and have questions, please let us know. If you have questions or comments for church council, there's an email address on the slide. And if you would like us to be praying for you in an ongoing way, prayer requests can be sent to prayers@chestnuthillunited.org. Wondering if I missed any announcements that anybody has? Okay. Yeah. Oh, yes. I think I have that on the screen and I don't have it here. Thank you so much. One other announcement is that the trustees and the Community Growth Committee are hosting a cleanup day, a work day, particularly focusing outside in preparation for Water Sunday. It will be the day before Water Sunday on Saturday, September 10th from 9 to 1. We will have bags for the leaves we can collect and the weeds that we pull. You're welcome to bring any tools you have at home. We'll have some here. But please consider coming out, both to prepare our space, but also just to connect with each other as we do that. So thank you for that. At this time, I'd like to invite our panelists up to these chairs, and some of our panelists are going to be online. Kara is going to help moderate, and we're going to have some introductions so you know who everybody is. Thanks for being here. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. We invited people to have another panel discussion because the ones in the past have been really helpful. And some of us have been part of this community for a long time, but many of us, whether it's in the sanctuary or online, are newer. And people always give good feedback about what it's like to get to know people a little better. So this is one way we want to do this today. So we're excited. We thank you for volunteering. And just one thing we want to note is that We're going to be speaking into the handhelds. I'm going to ask Care to interrupt us if we're not audible. We want to make sure that everybody can hear what we have to say. So feel free to let us know if it's not coming through clearly. And again, thanks for being here. So I want to start off just with introductions. I'll invite you to introduce yourself with your name and your pronouns. And if there's something else you want to share that helps people know a little bit about you, feel free to do that or not. So we will get started. Care, why don't you kick us off, and Ruth, and then we'll go to the people here in the sanctuary.
Sure. So I think I'm just kind of a support person because you hear my voice a lot, but I'm Care Messner and I use he, him pronouns, and I'm going to pass it to Ruth.
Hi, I'm Ruth, and I use she, her, and I'm happy to speak with you today.
Good morning. My name is Sandy West, and my pronouns are she and her. And I'm very happy to be here today. I think these questions that are being asked are very important, and I hope everyone enjoys the presentation.
Hello, my name's Palmer Williams. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm just really glad to be here in church with the rest of you.
Hi, I'm Karen Clementi, and I use the pronouns she and her. I'm happy to be here too, in dialogue with all of you. And I wanted to add that I've been attending this church since the mid-90s, so I have a long love, and I cherish this community.
So all the questions that I'm going to ask, we've just invited people to respond to the ones that resonate with them, and they don't need to respond to any that don't. So that's an invitation to all of you. And it might be that you thought there was one that resonated and you changed your mind. That's all good too. And if anybody has any follow-up questions of each other, we should feel free to be conversational in that way.
Priscilla,
Yes.
when you turn your head, we're losing a little bit of your sound.
Thank you so much. I'm going to do better, Care. So my first question is one that I love. It's probably the hardest question. We all get it all the time, which is, how are you? And I added, how are you really? Yeah, I want to hear from people about how they are today, or, yeah, how are you really? I think Ruth would like to get us started with that one.
How are you doing, really? The answers come from a diversity of ancient traditions. I'd like to consider with you 2 points on this topic. The first is self-talk. After listening to a podcast with Sylvia Boorstein, a Jewish Buddhist teacher, on the topic of what we nurture, I was impressed with her loving, warm conversation with family members. And what surprised me was that she turned that same warm, loving conversation inward to herself. Since then, I've been turning this self-talk into a spiritual practice that acknowledges the good things I've done, little things. And here is where acknowledgement quickly becomes gratitude. Gratitude for having that tube of toothpaste handy when I need it, or, oh, I could make a sandwich out of that with a sweet summer tomato. I try to remember to be loving and warm towards myself by calling me sweetie or sweetheart. The Cherokee share a story that there are 2 wolves inside you. One is evil, as in anger, envy, or jealousy. The list goes on, but you get the picture. And the other is good, as in joy, peace, love, and so on. The question is, which one will win? The answer is the one you feed. So be kind and gentle with those whom you encounter, especially your loved ones, your children, your parents. But you can't do that unless you are kind and gentle to yourself. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, that's not going to go too far if you don't love yourself. Yesterday on NPR, I heard a podcast on how to show up for yourself. There were 10 points. I'm not going to cover them all, but here's a few. First of all, showing up for yourself means taking care of yourself so that your mental and emotional health are supported. What makes you feel good when recounting your day's activities? A hot bath, reading a book, going for a walk? Then make time for these simple pleasures that bring you joy. Practice self-compassion by being kind and understanding towards yourself, even when you make a mistake. Set boundaries by prioritizing your needs. Like me, do you have trouble saying no sometimes? Take time to listen to your intuition, that gut feeling that helps you to make decisions. Some people journal. You don't have to write compositions. Keeping a daily planner helps to sort what needs to be done and what can be done another day. It is also a list of daily accomplishments for which you can be grateful. There are several more points covered in that podcast, but the important thing is to love and nurture your wild and precious self.
I love that, Ruth, and I love your nicknames for yourself. Thanks for that reminder that we should be as kind as possible. Sandy, how are you really?
Initially, I wasn't going to answer this question. I thought, I don't know if I want to really share this. But then I thought about it. And I feel like I'm doing okay. There are days that I feel down. I go with it. I do a lot of, as Ruth said, self-talk. Then I go out into nature, and that's what I love, for a walk. I call a friend, a family member. I say good morning to some stranger that I'm passing by, and a smile. And then I was reading something about Mary Oliver, and since Kip introduced me to Mary Oliver, I have just grown to love her. And I read this. When loneliness comes stalking, go into the fields. Consider the orderliness of the world. Notice something you have never noticed before. And I just have to say in closing that the hymns touch me because they were talking about the oceans and the mountains, and I go, yeah, that's what I love.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Anybody else want to answer that question, or should we move on to the next juicy question? I think we'll move on to the next one. So the next question I have is, what are you learning about self-trust? We talked a little bit about self-talk, but I'm also wondering what you think or have learned or are learning about self-trust. Palmer.
Hi. Well, when I actually have a story for this. Well, when I was learning about this panel board with my mom, I wanted to do it, but I was kind of nervous that I would, well, not know what to say, and feel like even when other people were talking that I wouldn't know, they would feel more professional than me. So, but kind of, I think that's, well, kind of, you have, and also getting nervous on the panel. But I feel like it's I feel like, well, that you
care about you, and we want you to do well.
I know. So to feel, you have to think from sometimes that other person's point of view, that they might be as nervous as you. And you have to realize that no one's trying to root against you. Everyone's part of the same community, of the same church, and everyone wants to see you succeed. And I feel like that outward helps you trust yourself on the inside.
Palmer, it's such a good point that remembering that we all get nervous, but sometimes it feels like we're the only one. So it's such an act of self-trust for you to say, I'm nervous about doing this. Other people might sound more professional, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to trust myself. So we're so glad that you did that. Yeah. And anybody else want to speak to that particular topic of self-trust? Okay. The next question that we want to talk about is, what have you learned about chosen family and building a circle of support? Yeah, I'm interested to learn more about how people think of that.
Yeah, this was the one question that did resonate with me because, and also Palmer, I want to thank you for sharing that because I was nervous too. So thank you. Yeah, I could recount numerous experiences here, but there are many times when things would happen in our family and we would share that with our friends in church, and they would just be there for us. They would come, show up at the house, friends here and the pastors too. And so I do feel like no matter what happens, and I tell this to the kids who've sort of fallen away from regular church attendance, and I say, you know, whatever happens, this church is going to be there for you. And so that's the way I felt. So that's chosen family, and it means the world.
Anybody else want to speak to your outlook on chosen family or friendship and what you've learned about it? I think Ruth.
I'm finding at this point in my life that the chosen family, which means friends, I consider dear friends my chosen family, things are changing. And maybe younger people think, oh, everything's all locked up when you're an adult and you just go with that and tunnel and you're fine. But things are changing, and I find that I have to change with them and looking around and making new friends and exploring who can I in my inner self trust and embrace, trust, and life goes on and it doesn't stop. It just kind of bubbles along.
Yeah, Sandy's going to respond. Thank you, Ruth.
I got a text from someone the other day, and she was saying, you know, our friends are our chosen family, and we all have stories, and that's what I love in life. We share these stories together, and we find what we have in common, and we have these aha moments. You know, you feel the same way I do, or that scares you, and you're looking at someone, you think they're all together and all that. So just sharing and being open and having those aha moments in this life is important.
Yeah, thank you both. Ruth, what you said made me think about how sometimes our friends or chosen family, sometimes they're with us for a lifetime ever since we meet them, and they journey with us the whole way. And sometimes they're with us for a season, and you were talking about trying to be open to the new people that might be part of your journey for this season. So I love that reminder. Yeah, and I think for me, friendship is like all about, you know, people bring out different parts of you, and sometimes you don't even know that there's a part of you that's not even out there fully until you meet the right person and they draw it out of you. So it's pretty exciting. So the next question is, you know, the United Church of Christ, one of their taglines is that God is still speaking. And I think we all feel that more at times and less at times, right? Like any relationship, you feel more or less connected depending on what's going on, and you have to sort of notice that. But so I'm wondering for you all, how is God speaking in your life currently?
I like this one. It's like, how is God speaking to me? And God speaks to me each and every day. I just need to quiet the noise in my head. And God speaks to me through poetry. I love poetry now. I didn't years ago, but I'm really hooked. Curiosity in this life. And I love to take photographs. And some people here probably are bombarded with my photographs and going, oh no, not another photograph. But I find that God speaks to me there. And there are 3 things that happened to me that God was right there and loving me. There was the one time when I kissed the baby whale. God was right there in Baja Sur, Mexico. And when I was in Massachusetts recently, I was at the cranberry bog, and there was a dragonfly flying around me and kept coming back. I took a photograph of it, and it kept coming back, and I touched its tail, and I thought, when does that ever happen? And the last thing is, last weekend I was photographing a butterfly, and I was right up on it, and it didn't fly away, and I took some wonderful photograph, and I touched its wing, and that's God in my life.
Great. Anybody else want to speak to how God is speaking into your life in this season?
I have a bit of a story too, I guess. And it really was a big one for me. And I'd been planning this trip to Alaska with my cousin for a year. She came up with the idea of going to Alaska, and I said, oh, it was like electricity in the room. And I called her after she left, and I said, sign me up. And she sent me the information. We signed up. And for the whole year, from July on last year, I would text her different programs coming on and see this about Alaska and that about Alaska. And we were all very excited about it. Her husband had a physical problem, but overcame that so that he could go, but on this cruise, as long as he had a cane. And so in January, I was going through the 120 offerings, excursions, the things you could do in 3 days in Alaska, and weeding through all those. So exciting, and going with Jeannie, my cousin, saying, which ones will we do? And we modified it so that her husband could participate, totally understood that. And then the week before to sail, I called the pastor, and I said, I didn't get into details, and I said, I'm just feeling funny about this trip a little bit. And he said, it's a gift. Okay, got it. It's a gift. That was my mantra. It's a gift. And the very day afterwards, my cousin called and she said she went into the IC unit in the hospital. And she was there for 2-3 days. And yay, she came out, but she was grounded, literally grounded. She was not allowed to go in an airplane. And she was the traveler. She made all of the arrangements. And I was just kind of like the tag along. She was the worldwide traveler. She had done this in her work. This was her shtick. And I'm like, oh no. And then I stepped back a moment, and the question came to me, how much do you want to go on this trip? And my answer came back quickly, desperately. So I said, okay, we're going on this trip. And I got my pieces of information together, even though I was umbrellaed under her name, to get with the airlines to make sure that they recognized me. And I said to myself, I'm going on this trip. I'm going to go as far as I can go. And if I'm sent back, I'm sent back, but at least I tried to go with this dream. And bit by bit, hurdle by hurdle, I got on the plane. And I said, guess we're going to, well, at least we're going to Vancouver. And then while I was in Vancouver, I was told I had to meet up with her sister-in-law, whom I've never met. So I found the sister-in-law in Vancouver and took a test that was legit, more legit than the ones apparently that we get from the government. But this was like the full deal, this full $75 deal. And I said, okay. And she and her friend helped me through that test. So it was absolutely, they could be monitored for the whole 15 minutes. Perfect. I was negative. I was negative at home, negative in Vancouver. And then the celebrations really started in my life. And I fell into an international jazz festival for free. And then it just took off and it was spectacular. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that question. How much do you want to go on this trip? And my answer.
Yeah, that sounds great, Ruth. I'm glad all those pieces came together for you and that you could feel God's presence in the way that they were unfolding. So the next question is, if sanctuary is defined as a place of refuge or safety, where have you found sanctuary, either currently or in the past?
I feel like for me, sanctuary is less of a place, but it's where the people that I spend time with and the things I do. I draw a lot, and I feel that even when I go on vacations, because a few days ago I was actually on a vacation to the beach, and it was very different, but still, because I was able to draw, I felt like I had sanctuary. And also, with because I was with my family, so I felt more safe at home. And even going back to school, I feel I'm definitely gonna feel more safe because I made friends from last year, and I know them, and hopefully I get most of the same classes with them, and then I know I'll also make new friends.
I love that, Palmer. Palmer's, I feel like you're reminding us that we can be sanctuary within our own selves. That's such a beautiful reminder that we don't have to go to some external thing, but we can carry it with us. So I love that. Yeah. Anybody else want to speak to that? Karen.
Thing about this sanctuary. I really missed this sanctuary when we couldn't come. But there's always one thing, and I might have even shared this with many of you before, is that eye up there. And I tend to sit on this side of I know I've had this conversation with you, Michelle, I think. But I tend to sit here and I look at the eye, and what's interesting to me is, especially when we do the hymn, Here I Am, Lord, and didn't I look in the bulletin today, and here it is. And I just seem to have a connection to that song about, well, what do I do next? And I feel that in this sanctuary.
That's wonderful. Another way that God is speaking. For those who haven't been in the sanctuary, the stained glass, there is an eyeball in one of the stained glass panels that looks at us. So thank you, Karen. Because this turned into an intergenerational conversation, and because we've learned so much from Palmer both today and throughout the years, I'm wondering if anybody has anything they'd like to share about what they wish they knew when they were Palmer's age. Palmer, you're 15, is that right? I'm just wondering if anybody has anything that they wish they had known. And if somebody on the chat wants to put something in, feel free, but I'm wondering if that resonates for anybody on the panel.
One thing that resonates with me is my education about American history. So I think it was severely lacking in race relations, power and privilege, Native Americans. There were things that were just sort of little paragraphs in books that were definitely not inclusive or in depth enough for kids to really understand. So
I love that reminder of the ways that you have to educate yourself too and fill in the gaps when you recognize that they're there. So thank you for pointing that out. The other thing I would say is that I wish I knew when I was Palmer's age is that it really does get easier, is what I would say. I think a lot of young people look at older people and say, oh, that adulting, maybe it looks hard and not fun, but I don't know, through life experience, you're better equipped to handle everything thrown your way. So I think it gets easier and better. And so not that it's not good for you already, Palmer, but you know what I mean. Does anybody have any closing thoughts or follow-up questions as we draw to a conclusion? Yeah.
I am so impressed by you. I really, really am, and I'm so happy that I'm on this panel with you. So I just wanted you to know that.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, well, let's give our panelists a thank you round of applause. Thank you all for being here.
Wow, what an incredible panel. Thank you, everyone, so much. My spirit has been fed. We are moving now into time of community prayers. And our sung prayer response is Spirit of the Wind. And technology willing, I'm going to sing and play that with you. So let's sing it through twice together. Spirit of the wind, carry me. Spirit of the wind, carry me home. Spirit of the wind, carry me home to myself. Spirit of the wind, carry me. Spirit of the wind, carry me home. Spirit of the wind, carry me home to myself.
I just wanted to mention that we'll go right into the offertory response as we collect offerings here in the sanctuary rather than having a separate offertory.
Thank you, Priscilla. So friends, we invite you to take a moment to reflect on the ways that you give to this community. And Kathy shared a gratitude in the chat box at the end of prayers there, appreciating the panel presentation and the way that it helps us to get to know our fellow congregants. And so I'm grateful too for the ways that our panelists shared their gifts today. And we invite you to think of to reflect on the ways that you might support this community with your prayers, your presence, your gifts, and your service. There's information on the screen and in your order of service for how to give financially if you want to do that. And we invite you to join us in the offertory response.
Kara, you're on mute.
Oh, and I just said all sorts of really profound things. I was just saying that we are moving to our closing song. And as Karen hinted, it is Here I Am, Lord. Priscilla, is this a Rise in Body or Spirit song? I've been forgetting to invite that.
It is.
So friends, we invite you to rise in spirit or in body as you feel led, and to join us in our closing song, Here I Am, Lord. Friends, we have been gifted today with such wisdom from Sandy and Karen and Ruth and Palmer. And so as we go forth, I invite you to take all of that beautiful, deep wisdom in, the wisdom of self-trust, even when we feel scared to do something, the wisdom of leaning into chosen community and of listening to the ways that God is speaking in our lives. Friends, go forth knowing that you are held by this community and by the God who creates you, walks with you, and sustains you. Go in peace. Amen.